everyone, including ourselves.
And only ourselves.
Ah, so we're just here chilling right now, getting ready to start up the show. My page was hijacked too, in case you didn't know.
Yeah, Rob's page, and it was all my fault. That's all I'm gonna say.
Mm, yeah, that's okay. You'll be okay. It'll be okay. I wasn't that worried about it. But we're gonna wait till we get a few people to jump in here with us. I guess doesn't make no sense to start by ourselves.
No, it doesn't.
Not quite, but we will get started momentarily.
Hi, King Willadon. How
Hello,
are
hello.
you?
Thank
I
you
guess
for
this is
joining.
working.
We're gonna get some more people joining us on in here momentarily.
Hey,
Sorrel and
our sponsor, Sorrel and
Sage
Sage,
is
is
joined.
on.
Good evening,
As
good
usual, she's
evening.
supporting the cause and the mission.
We'll
Thank
get
you for joining.
started in a few minutes. Couple of more minutes.
They can't hear
they
us.
can't hear us. Uh-oh. Let's see what's going on. Perfect.
Whoop,
Check,
whoop.
check. Yay! Rob's going to drown her out tonight.
Tonight
Good.
might be his night.
All right.
Okay, so
It
you have to
seems
make
like
sure
you're
that
low or off. I'm going to turn myself down a little bit, and we're going to...
Oh, wait, did you plug this in wrong then?
No.
Okay. Well, I guess maybe I need to be drowned out today. So we can hear, but if the two are speaking at the same time, we're gonna lose Sheba. Okay, Rob.
All right, so we just have to not talk over each other tonight. That's gonna be more of a challenge for me than her, probably.
That part.
Unless she's being feisty.
That part. Okay. So why cheating is not a deal breaker, but disrespect is our topic for the night. We're going to have someone join us who disagrees slightly. So the show is about changing the conversation around Black relationships, and we love that idea. And so we are all about people who are going to challenge our stance, because that opens up the conversations around relationships. Our relationship isn't like anybody else's, and just like yours won't be like ours. And so we want to really talk about the things that work, what don't work for us. And again, it might raise some eyebrows, or it might go, But before we get into that, before we bring Dean on, I am going to read the poll results for today. So the poll results were, and the questions were, before I get into the results, so the questions were, when's a cheater always a cheater? 67% said yes, 33% said no. Next question, should you treat your relationship like a business? It was 50-50. Next, and this one was interesting for me. This one was actually I was actually shocked at the results for this. So, is flirting cheating? It was also 50-50. Next question, if a person cheats, does that mean they want out of the relationship? 33% said yes, 67% said no. And the final question, would you entertain the idea of giving your husband or wife a yearly hall pass? The options were, are you dumb? Okay, which was 63%. And that could work, said 37%. Before we bring Dean on, I'd be interested in what anybody thinks about that. Is flirting cheating? Because I don't think it is. Because if that's the case, I've been cheating for years. I'm just a big bad cheater. I'm a cheater. I cheated on every girl's trip.
Oh my God.
And my girls are on. My two besties are on. So they'll know what I'm talking about. If flirting is cheating, I have been cheating.
All right, Duke says no, it's
Duke
not.
said no, it's not.
It's like, maybe it's one of those situations like we were speaking on before, is if it is, you need to be with someone who agrees with that and thinks that it is cheating. And if it isn't, you need to be with someone that agrees that flirting isn't cheating and agrees with that. Because the two ain't really compatible. Like,
Facts.
one person gonna drive the other one crazy, basically.
So Dean says, and Dean's going to be on, so I want Dean to clarify that. I agree it is not, but there are boundaries. Agree.
Oh, of course, there's boundaries to
Absolutely,
everything.
there are boundaries around the idea of flirting, right? And of course, Nami, being one of my best friends, understands what Toshiba's type of flirting is. And it isn't out there doing the most, but it's a little bit doing the most. But there's boundaries. Sorry, am I doing the most?
Again, I think it's just if you guys have understanding and yeah, you have to have kind of pregame that type of stuff when you guys. I don't know. Like it's something that doesn't bother me, so I never even think about having a conversation. Like, yeah, it just doesn't make any sense to me to expect her to go out by herself and sit in the corner and don't talk to nobody. Or vice versa, for real. Like, yes, don't look at me, don't talk to me. You're gonna get me in trouble. Like, nah, it's not that kind of vibe. It's not that kind of energy. But definitely boundaries. But I don't really know what acting single is. You're still a whole individual. You know what I mean? But I think people aren't dumb, and if you're giving off a vibe and you're in a relationship, that's kind of not what it needs to be. And women definitely know, and they're giving off a vibe, and I would pretty much say so do guys. It's just usually guys are more direct about it. What's happening?
Dean said she's supposed to talk to the friends she came with, not have insignificant conversation with randoms just because. Okay, so Dean, you and I would not work because in your eyes I would be a cheat. Sir, I be talking to everybody and their mama. I walk into a room, I'm saying hello to everybody. I'm on the beach, people say hello to me. We're in the club. Like, I am just that person because I also never know in the settings that we're in who could be who and what could lead to a possible business relationship and all of the other things that happens. And so that's why, like, I consider, like, when we're on girls' vacation, we're not trying to find men, but we do network. We've met a lot of incredible people, me and my girls, through going on our girls' vacations and networking, right? People that we still talk to today. So that's kind of always been my thing. I'm not necessarily flirting, but I am a friendly person. So that's how I look at it. But we are going to bring Dean on because Dean is going to be a special guest. Again, why cheating isn't a deal breaker. And I'd be curious before Dean comes on. So Dean says saying hello is being cordial, but having conversation, meaningless conversation, isn't. That I will agree with. So before Dean gets on and shares his viewpoints and challenges our idea that cheating is not a deal breaker, how many people in here cheating is a deal breaker? You can either decide to press the sign and have all the love or comment in the thing. Is cheating a deal breaker for you? So your partner cheats and you are packing up your bags and you out the door.
Off the rip.
Out.
And I honestly I can respect that. I think if that's how you came in the door, then you ain't got no choice but to stand on that. You if it's zero tolerance means zero tolerance. You don't. That's the whole thing about any type of rules you have in a relationship. Is if the person violates that, then you gotta enforce how serious you meant it. You know what I'm saying? And if you don't, chances are you're going to keep dealing with it over and over again. And I know this from both personal experience and what I've seen. If you say, don't do this, and they do it, you better have some consequences and repercussions to it, or it's just kind of meaningless, and that's when the disrespect starts.
So,
all right,
Dean,
so let's just get Dean in
comes
here.
On, I'm going to read this, though. Depending on the level of cheating, having a conversation with the intent to maybe hook up but didn't go that far means she was thinking about it. However, if you actually cheat intimately, have sexual relations with another man, it's considered a deal breaker for me. I hear you.
Again, I respect that, mother.
So we're going to bring Dean on. We are looking forward to
What's
this.
going on? What's up? Looking forward to this.
This is going to be interesting. I'm ready.
Yeah, you gonna do.
I'm ready.
What's going on, brother?
Okay, I thought you were still in the store.
Still in the store. Yes, I'm here.
You are still in the store.
Yes.
We respect it.
Look, I had to keep my word.
For sure, man. Appreciate you coming on, my dude. Looking good too, bro.
So if you just want to introduce yourself to the audience so the audience knows you and how this came about that you are on our show tonight.
Well, definitely. My name is Dean, but my friends call me. I am born in Brooklyn, New York, so I speak two languages fluently. I have 20 years. Yes, 20 years.
20
And
years married. You say you've been married for 20 years?
yes, 19 years together.
So
Even
my
though
brother
right
speaking
now
from
there's some
experience.
technical difficulties with that, but we won't get to that.
Yeah. I mean that's natural, my dude. You know, it's hard to keep anything going smooth for 20 years. You know what I mean? Unless you're the Patriots or somebody. You know, they
Oh,
just
let
got
me
they
explain
just
to
got
you.
knocked
That's
by
a
the
whole
Bills. You know, so
episode. That's a whole episode.
You're
Just
ridiculous.
give me 1 second. Give me one
No
second.
problem.
for sure.
So I'm going to read
No,
a couple of things that people are saying. So Duke is saying most people say that cheating is a deal breaker until it actually happens and then they try to work it out and repair their relationship. It's not that black and white in most cases. I agree. Garcia says
My
if it's an
girl.
affair like years and years, we done. But sexual encounter once or twice, it should be worked out with dedication to working in the relationship. Duke said Dean's got some echo. We get it. He's in
Yeah,
the
he's
store.
making moves, so
He's
it's
making some
we gonna
moves.
be
We're gonna
we gonna
let
work
Dean
with it
get
though.
himself together. But I'm actually with both Duke and Garcia. If you again, last week we talked about the difference between choosing and cheating, right? There is a difference between Rob cheating on me and Rob choosing someone else. What Garcia is talking about and a long-term affair, that's Rob choosing someone else. Rob deciding that it's a boys' weekend. Let's that viral TikTok video that's going around, which we'll probably talk about after this. Which, anyways, Rob and I think it's ridiculous.
That's the one that's
but
really.
if he goes on a boys' trip and some shit happens and he comes back and tells me, that's a conversation. That's not me packing up and saying, I've left you and my girls are like meeting me at the airport to like pick up the pieces, right? Like I'm not gonna leave him over that. If I find out that Rob is having a long-term situation with a person and sharing, his innermost thoughts with this woman and all of that crap, no, I'm out. Because you chose someone else. Oh, there's Dean. He's in the car
He's chilling
now.
now. He's got a break.
Can I say this? So you're basically saying if he chooses someone, it is different from having sex with someone and coming back to you.
Yes.
So you're comfortable with sharing your man because as long as he continues to come back, that's a green light.
So that's a good question.
I'm gonna let her answer that. I'm gonna sit back.
That is a good question. I personally have no issues with sharing Rob, and I will explain why. I am a bisexual woman, and therefore part of it is if I am sharing him, it's when we are in a situation together, right? Rob is not going to choose to go out without me. That's kind of the deal that we have. He doesn't do the picking. If someone comes to me, it's vetted through me, and then we would go off and do that. But it isn't something that he's naturally seeking. So when it comes to me being okay with sharing him, yes. What I am not okay with is him going out and actively pursuing someone. That is a whole different situation. Can you hear us? Did you move and do something?
I don't think I
can all
did.
the guests still hear us? Can you guys hear us, the viewers? Because I'm not sure if Dean can still hear us. Microphone check, 1 2 1 2. So I'm going to read a couple of things while we get this. Yeah. Empress Neeks, thank you for joining. Says totally cheating is a deal breaker for me. Sorlin Sage, our sponsor, says sharing feelings is different from falling into a vagina.
Okay.
Not
actually,
the falling. There we go, Dean.
Yo, I'm so sorry. My wife actually was like, "What are you doing? I just got on Instagram and seen that you're fucking on some cheating shit." I'm like, yo, I want you to chime in right now because I'm saying cheating is a deal breaker. I had to defend myself. Listen, look.
That's funny, man.
Look, I told y'all, right? Now, if my wife listening, my wife is very strict. So she's totally probably going to be completely on my side with this. Cheating is cheating. Meaning, if you flirting, if you like giving too much attention to a female that you 100% sure you know she's into you.
Mm-hmm.
If you feed into that, you're cheating.
Where your wife from, fam?
My wife is from New York. She's from
Okay.
New York. She's from the Bronx, Co-op City, Red Hook Projects like me too. Big up to Brooklyn.
Yo, and again, I'm a Rochester boy, but I think I'm not saying this like repping the town or nothing like that, because I know I look at those type of situations a little bit differently. But from what I'm hearing and what it sounds like is like what we're saying. We have a rule, no disrespect, though, bro. So it's like you said, even flirting or carrying on too much with an individual of the opposite sex with you and your wife is kind of considered disrespectful, because that's a New York type of energy. You know what I'm saying? And I completely dig that, but it seems like y'all see that eye to eye. Like if you was a naturally flirty dude and like I can't help myself, and she looks at it like, yo, if you engaging with a female in a certain type of way, you're being disrespectful to me. Either you would have to learn how to rein in your flirtiness, or you'd have a problem. You feel what I'm saying?
Now you're right? But to an extent, because I'm not a flirtatious guy. I'm kind of like antisocial, right? That
I dig,
lures,
bro.
that lures people to you sometimes. And in a sense, because it makes them over curious about you, because you're not willing to give too much.
Right.
So because of that, that puts me in control, because I'm able to decipher and see and know who's giving me extra attention. You feel me? And it's my duty as just a man in general, whether you're married or in a relationship, to be able to be like, I'm good. And when I say I'm good, like, not even give them the chance to open the conversation to lure you in. So I have worked in areas where there were generally populated with women, like in hospitals.
Mm-hmm.
And the key to being happy is cut off the expectation of it even being a chance. So I would rather be considered stuck up, conceited, and that motherfucker think he is shit, just because I don't talk to nobody. And my reason for not talking to nobody is I come there to work, not make friends, right?
I get it.
So being over social at work, you can have it can start a work relationship. That's cheating.
Mm-hmm.
You go to work every day with the expectations to see someone or to talk to someone. You are definitely disrespecting your relationship, because you're giving your mental to another woman. I'm like this, right? I'm very arrogantly an asshole. I can accept that. So when I'm out in the world, I'm definitely not changing that. So I can come off as having an aggressive nature, or I can come off as being antisocial.
Mm-hmm.
Just depending on how you step.
Exactly. The only difference is I can live with that.
Right. Right.
I can live with somebody saying he's an asshole. I'm cool with that.
Well, that's better than someone going back to your wife saying, "I saw you all up in Karen's face, blah, blah, blah,
exactly.
blah, exactly.
And you had to explain something that's completely not the truth. I can give you a theory real quick. It's real short. I was watching Kevin Hart, right? And he said something like this. He said, as a man, we can be doing the most innocent thing in the world. As innocent as feeding birds in the park. We're feeding pigeons. I got bored one day and I wanted to feed some pigeons some bread. It went over time. I was enjoying myself, and I forgot I was there for a whole hour and a half. Try going home to your wife and saying, babe, I was running an hour and a half late home because I was feeding the pigeons. It's over for you.
She's not really.
Now,
yeah, that doesn't.
Now listen, let me tell you how it's not the same, but we got to accept it as men. If your wife says, babe, on my way home, I decided to go to the pet store and look at goldfish because I was going to get our kid one. Bullshit like that.
Mm.
You, for 1 second, say, nah, I don't believe that shit. Or nah, you're insecure. You are immature. And you need some soul searching. As a man, we got to accept that. But as a man also, we got to accept the fact that even when not doing nothing, if it don't sound good to our wife, we were doing something.
That's kind of how the world moves, though, in that space. Like, I don't think
That's
our
why
dynamic
cheating is,
Is a
for
deal breaker.
me, a deal breaker because, let's be honest, men cannot take what we dish out when it comes to cheating on
That
women.
part. That
we're
part.
not big fans of it, nah, because
You know,
it's a lot that goes to it.
men go out there and do these different shit, but you forget them love faces you making when you and your wife getting into it. When you think about her making them faces with another man, you go crazy.
Men ain't wired really for that type of. Well,
We're not.
I mean, not a dominant type of dude isn't, at least. You know, it's.
So why even do it?
So I'm gonna
Yo,
read some of the.
you preaching some choir, bro.
I'm
You're
gonna read
making it
some of
difficult
the.
to argue with you right
I'm
now.
gonna read some of the comments. Dean, my best friend Odelia said, Dean is giving the husband energy that the world needs. Okay, you are getting the love. So there's a couple of things I want to read here. So some people are saying flirting isn't cheating. To each their own. I don't blame anyone if they want to call it quits for being cheated on. It's you have to do what's best for you. Sorlin Sage, our sponsor, says Bronx girls don't play.
They don't.
Duke Nation says, I disagree with the flirting being considered cheating. Sometimes we do know that another woman likes us, and we're just being polite. That doesn't mean I want the woman back. Cash Forever says, both men and women should treat their partner better than anyone else. Completely agree. Sorlin Sage says, the work wife husband is a slippery slope. I see what he's saying with this one. Duke says, I agree with that point. If you go to work and you are looking forward to speaking with a certain woman, then you are disrespecting your woman at home. That would mean that you are emotionally connected.
Yes.
That is the part for me.
Yes.
Rob and I actually
That's
had
the emotional connection. That's the part that I
Remember,
think
we
that's.
cannot speak over each other because of
Go
the
ahead,
mic
my bad.
situation. Thank you. So that Rob and I actually had that conversation about the work wife, work husband situation. And I've said that every time I have been in a work husband situation, my work husband was gay. I was very purposeful of not ever putting out any energy with a straight man that could be misconstrued by anybody at my workplace as, oh my God, this could be a great situation. Never. So anybody who, when they said, oh, Toshiba's work husband, it was generally a gay man. He didn't want me, I didn't want him, but we were really great at work. For my biggest thing was always, I'm never going to disrespect my home. And if my husband, my boyfriend, my fiance, whomever feels as if I have an emotional connection to someone else, that is a problem, funny enough. So as much as I say, yes, cheating isn't a deal breaker where I'm going to run out the door if Rob cheats. What is bad for me is the emotions. If Rob looks at another woman the way he looks at me, if he speaks about another woman the way he speaks about me, all of that stuff for me, that would actually hurt me more because he's choosing her. Like our sponsor said, falling into some pum-pum is very different than actually making a concerted effort to have a relationship with this woman. So that's my 2 cents.
Okay, now, Ron, can I ask you a question?
Go ahead, brother. I was going to chime in eventually.
All right, my guy, I got to ask you a question, right?
Uh-huh.
How did it make you feel? Okay, first of all, let me ask you a question. How long have you guys been married?
Well, we just only been together for a year, first off. So,
oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
You make me feel
Cohabitation.
really.
I know where you about to go almost,
Hold
brother,
on,
I think, but I'm going to let you answer your question.
Yes, let me ask. I'm making brief because I want you to chime in, right? How did it make you feel just now at that specific moment when you was about to say something? You didn't know that y'all was talking at the time, but you were into it. And she said, "Bet you're cutting me off. We can't speak at the same time."
The look on your face, my bad. Go ahead. Right now, with me and my wife, it's somewhat the opposite. We cut each other off left and right, and it makes the conversation debatable instead of informative. So we go from not necessarily both trying to make a point to both trying to be heard. There's a difference.
Yeah, there is. There's a big difference. I think that's really where we came in the door because of our previous experiences and knowing like it took a certain type of individual to deal with me, you know, and I think she was feeling in the same space. Now, what I really wanted to touch on was the energy you're giving, like that real husband energy. When we say like cheating, first off, she's bi, I'm not, you know what I'm saying?
But
So,
now, hold on.
so I don't, so
Says that's great. Some men would be like, "Oh, that's great," but it's y'all had said something, and I'm happy you said that, Rob. I'm not going to cut you off, but I'm going to make it real quick.
uh-huh.
Now, having a wife that's bi, what if she was to tell you, "Yes, I want a girl, but she's not your girl. She's my girl." But
Oh
she's not
no,
Oh yeah, that wouldn't work for
that's not
us. You
working.
know, we yeah. She
No,
knew off the
it,
gate
no,
when we had those
that never worked,
discussions.
right?
Yeah,
no.
no. And at the same energy, like so. Check it because of the nature of that, and because there's a certain amount of like. So first off, I think we get misconstrued a lot. I don't think we fall into the conversation of poly necessarily because our relationship is 90% me and her. You know what I'm saying? The barrier to entry is extremely high. Like and the reason that we do have that kind of that we're open to a third, for instance, is because we feel like our love is significant enough that it can accommodate another individual. Now, with that being said, it's clearly that individual is going to be another female. Another dude doesn't work. You know what I'm
Oh
saying?
no,
For
I
me
would
at all, bro. Like
never another dude. Never.
never. And even what you saying,
Men, we would never want that. We
not
never
at
want
all.
that.
And that's where when you coming from with like, so the cheating, is it a deal breaker for me? No, because I have to respect the fact that if she's giving me that courtesy, I gotta try to respect and reciprocate that energy. But at the same time, I look at it as, look, if another man got her into my bed, that's significant and he's in a threat. So damn, I'm not happy about that shit at all. It's nothing about that I would look at as a good thing because it's not the same as us having fun and her sharing me with another female. You feel me? Because I don't care what any woman wants to say. The chances of you having sex with a man without an emotional connection are slim. Men are able to have sex without an emotional connection. Like that's just Tuesday for us. You know what I'm saying?
Horrible thing to say.
So Rob,
Would you disagree with that, my bro?
no, I don't. I agree with you, Rob. But let me say this. My wife would only entertain the thoughts of a threesome mentally. You understand? Meaning, we can watch a porno flick of chicks getting it in, and she would say something like, "That looks so sexy, babe." That's just gonna make it better with me and her. But she's not saying to me indirectly, "I want that," because she would say quickly, "I'm not sharing my dick."
Now I feel that, bro. Like from the sounds of it, y'all have a very traditional type of love in a marriage. But like the fact that y'all watch porn together and she allows you to kind of entertain that little bit of ugly, I'm sure that kind of makes the desire for it a little bit less. Like, because again, you know what's out here in these streets. It's not really like
Exactly. Now that be our turn up nights. Like everything quiet. I go get about 5 movies, and we'll pop them in before we get it in. Cut it off when we get because we try to we should.
right,
So it's kind of like it's a thrill for us.
right.
Now we have to talk about when we go on vacation, my wife is very sexy. We've noticed like, other women coming on to her.
Yeah. You know,
Look,
can't
me
take
and
it
my
to the
wife
mall.
go back to the room. We go back to the room and be like, "Yo, babe, you know she wanted you," and we would talk about it, but we would never entertain going back downstairs and bringing her upstairs.
Yeah, and listen, I respect that. I think for Rob, it was important for me just because I am a bisexual woman. So completely being in this relationship without the chance or opportunity to express that side of me, that would be difficult. If I wasn't attracted to women, I think we would be having another discussion. But I think for me, I looked at it as it is unfair to him for me to say, yes, I'm attracted to women. This is my thing. You do not get to be a part of that. Because again, my loyalty is going to always be to him. I've chosen to be with him. This is where I want to be forever and ever until casket, right? So for me, it was like, if I'm going to expect him to respect my sexuality, what I will not do is I will not step outside of the covenant of our situation with anyone if he's not included. And so when we were talking about what a relationship would look like for us, we talked about all types of different things. Like everything was on the table. We talked about, is another man on the table? I automatically said, no, I'm not interested. This is the man that I want to be with. How does it look like with another woman, right? Does Rob choose? The answer was no, Rob does not choose if we're going. Yes, he's a part of it, but Rob's not going to go with his boys, see the big body stripper. Sorry, I'm Jamaican, but you're from New York, so you know what that means.
Definitely.
The big body stripper and talk about, oh, babe, this is what we're going to do. That's just not what it is. We need, an intellectual and emotional, all of those connections to even make this work. So again, my thing about why we say cheating isn't a deal breaker is because we've talked about what the worst looks like. What does the worst looks like for us? And the worst for me is Rob again choosing to emotionally be attached to someone else. And I think, the idea, like Rob said, of having the option to do it makes it less likely to do it because he knows if he wants to do it, it's a conversation and we can go from there. It isn't completely cut off. So that's my 2 cents on that, if I explain that.
No, you did really well. And I'm gonna throw it back to my boy because he's just been, son, you're doing an excellent job representing Black men and husbands because, again, when you walk through the door, people have their assumptions, and especially when it comes to us, you know what I mean? It's like and anytime a Black man is, the term I like to use is non-threatening. Like if you're not non-threatening, they don't really want to fuck with you a certain kind of way. You know what I'm saying? Because they worry like, oh, if you get upset, you're going to put your hands on somebody or something like that. And it makes navigating in the world a little more tenuous, as if you're, like, I like to refer to Carlton Banks from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, like he's non-threatening. Nobody is expecting him to spaz out on nothing. You know what I'm saying? But as a Black man, you walk into a room and there's this space of automatically like, oh, don't upset him. He's gonna this, that, and the third and the fifth. So I just, from the perspective of brother to brother, wanted to say that this man came in as with alpha energy and still represented a faithful husband and a solid man. Like, I just wanted to give you your flowers real quick, bro.
Yo, I appreciate it. And let me say this. Perfect. So before I get there, or even here to be perfect, let me be the first to say that I have made one mistake. One in my and I can say that because that was my only mistake. The thing about that, I learned something. You have to love yourself. You have to. The thing that I do love, arrogant, or how rough I can be. Love so what that means, I'm not willing to jeopardize something as simple else. That's not going to happen. If it was solely something within, it would never be nobody else. Because they would never be that important. So, we're not perfect. And I used to look papoose on like, yo, because I always been in a lot of things, and I've been say we
Nah, we gonna chop it up again, bro.
been away sometimes, and I've been in situations. Any situation I've been in, good, bad, or my wife's been in. Now, has it been? I feel like, man, I fulfilled. Okay, I'm equally there. Yeah, you feel that, but you don't what it took for a woman to be there.
Mm-hmm.
I look at like if the tables was turned, could we be? Could I do that? When asked Mandy, he said,
Yep.
he said I don't know,
And yet
Right.
he was mad.
Yeah.
Because he was honest.
Mm-hmm.
How now? I believe I can papoose because I know who I am.
Right.
But I also say, if asked the question, and it was anyone but my wife, then my response would be the same way and DC was. I just don't know. You see,
Yo, bro.
know that the person I'm willing to put it all out for is gonna do it for me.
That part.
You know that with your woman, right, Rob?
Hey, yo.
You don't know that.
That part.
You don't. And you.
Fair with you. I never heard of the whole thing, so I seen the movie Why Did I Get Married? But it made everything look good until you 80 for that and realize that percent was because let's be honest, third of 100. Right?
Yeah, everybody want 100, man.
So how can you beat 100 and you lose in 60?
It's just bad math. Yeah, it's just bad math, brother. And you always have to look at to start off what you said at the top of the conversation. Shout out to Papoose and Remy Ma. Like, I love that you're using them example. It's like what you said. For those that don't know, she went and did some time, and he held her down.
That's right.
And that's usually a dynamic you see reversed. And again, is real recognize real. So a lot of men were sitting there looking at Papoose like, yo, and again, we don't know what happened 100%, 365 days, 24/7. That ain't our motherfucking business, to be perfectly honest with you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But he carried his way the whole bid in a manner that was respectful to his wife.
Exactly. He never made look. No one was you was like, who was over
that part.
That's disrespectful to embarrass your partner. You know what I'm saying?
I like when I made the top, when I made the comment that it's about, right? We have to have it. You see that when you speak to high and cool, if you're laughing about something, that's cool. You walk away. But when you sit there and you enter that you know, you really in your heart know you can take right, and it's gonna go. Why enter? Just say conversation. Because what do you do? You give your mind to someone. Because I was taught you don't respond until you listen, so you can respond.
Right.
So that means you are putting your mind to this conversation. Why do that? Giving yourself, even if it's a point or that party, you giving that to. How many times do you think about that when over and over again? You're gonna think of what could have happened. You're gonna get that conflict that it's still the man.
Yeah.
Well, I think you always have to move in a space as if your partner is there, right? And I think,
Yeah.
you know, there's a clip that I have where I say, when I get a DM, Rob gets a DM.
Yeah, sorry.
And when Rob gets a DM, I get a DM. There are no secrets that are hidden between us, right? And I'll give you a scenario. We had a situation where I've known somebody for 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
And, you know, this person and I have known each other. It's no secret that he has a thing for me. So he reached out to me and wanted to invite me to come visit him in the city that he's in, because he's a football coach, and he wanted me to come and see him in play. My response to him was, I said it to Rob, and my response went back to him is, you can ask my hubby if you want me to come, you can have a man-to-man conversation with him. But this isn't something that I'm going to answer, because my answer is no. I am not, because again, I already know you have something for me. But I said, hey, you can ask him and you guys can have a conversation. I did that, and Rob said to do that because we knew he wasn't going to ask him, because again, you were being a little bit foul. And because you were being foul, you and I can't rock that way anymore, because you were already looking to disrespect my relationship or expect me to disrespect my relationship. So when I came back with, sure, here's his contact, you can reach him and have a conversation with him and tell me how that goes, it was very much like, whoa, right? But that's the way I mitigated this situation. It's no from me, but if you really want to, because I'm your friend, and you really want to have a conversation, you'll have a conversation with my man. That's who you'll have the conversation with. I don't entertain that, because again, my relationship is not a secret. It's on social media. It's everywhere. We have the show. It's not a secret. So if you're coming to me with that energy, I already see what it is.
Yeah, that's interesting. That was an interesting situation.
That was interesting. But Rob, let me ask you.
Go ahead, bro.
Is he still her friend? No longer her friend, right?
I'm pretty sure that's the case. You know, I don't follow up on it or nothing like that. But
right after the violation, there's no more communication.
Nah, I don't think.
It was very clear.
Yeah.
I made it very clear to him,
because pretty much shut that right down.
And I was like, listen, if you haven't reached out to him, there's nothing to talk about, because clearly you know what it is.
Well, and as I remember, it was kind of like said in like a playful type of way at first, and then it was like, and she made me, because again, as she said, when she gets a DM, I get a DM, and vice versa. Like, she got my phone more than me most of the time. Like, I really don't worry about external shit. So it was just, I kind of, just brushed it off. And it was nothing, again, I never got tight about. Because again, what man in his right mind is going to ask another man, yo, let your woman come hang out with me for a little while?
For a whole weekend.
That's not nothing any man in his right mind is going to ask another man and expect anything other than, you, bro, are you fucking serious? You know what I mean? Like, you can't be serious. You can't actually be seriously asking me that, because men understand the only way a man would seriously ask you some shit like that is if he just thought you was like food or some shit like that. And if that's the energy you coming with, then yeah, that's a different conversation, but it ain't even that serious. You know what I mean? Because she addressed it. The funny thing about us is like, her line for when she feels like she's being disrespectful or someone is violating is probably further along than mine is, because I don't really trip. And one of the things about, and I'm sure you can relate, like when you dealing with an attractive woman, like, she's gonna get niggas' attention, man. Like, I've made a comment previously, like, I don't want no woman that other men ain't looking at like, yeah, that's nice. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I'm not gonna put it on those other men to respect my motherfucking relationship. I'm gonna put it on her.
Exactly.
That part. And I'm very clear about, again, the line. I'm very quick to be like somebody will say something to me and I'm like, babe, I gotta address this. And he's like, babe, it's not that big of a deal. But I'm
serious,
like, the moment you make something slip, they feel as if they can say something about him in the streets, and I will never have his name in the streets like that. Yo, your girl's coming, like, there will be none of that to me, right? Like, I was brought up in such a way, like, you never disrespect your home. And so you come to me with any kind of energy, I'll be like, yo, look at what this person said to me. He's like, babe, it's whatever. And I'm like, no, let me let them know now. This ain't it. Like, we're not
Exactly.
going for that.
I'm a big fan of check somebody right then and there. Here's if anybody, please.
Dean, you're cutting out a little bit. You're cutting out.
Either your Wi-Fi, you might be jumping back and forth or something like that.
Am I better now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's my thing, right? I'm a firm believer on handling right then and there.
Absolutely.
Close friend of mine, a real close friend. I'm not big on hooking up friends, but however, my wife had a real dope best friend at the time. I mean, dope, driving money.
Right.
My boy had just came home from a situation, Rob. You feel what I'm saying?
I got you.
And you
trying to look out.
He brolic good. Oh, she wanted him. They get the date. Now he was doing a lot of in and out of without telling me. You on being in my neck of the woods as my boy let me know. Even if you come to see your now girl. What happened was I didn't know he was there. He wasn't supposed to be there because he was on parole. We're gonna make. I'm gonna tell him straight. And he shouldn't have been there. He only had weekends. This was the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
She worked at a bar. She was a head bartender. She got more attention than a little bit. I'm talking about a lot of attention. And I kept telling him, do not work with her.
Yeah.
Going to work with her because you sitting there chilling. But you gotta realize you gotta flirt a little bit.
You fucking her money up, man.
Yeah, so you messing her money up, but the thing about it is she's not you. So she gonna keep doing how you do because she got to get that bread. Long story short, at the end of the night, I'm gonna make it real quick. They shut down the bar at the time so they can count the bar up, count the do what they do. The bouncers that she was girlfriend. You know, like I said, my boy the bouncer respected him.
Uh-huh.
So they were your girl's out and she needs to get back in. When she's not gonna go in. This dude gonna get into the bouncer and say, nigga, I don't work here. You work here. You open it. They saying this is at this point, I agree with the bouncer. From everything about this point on, I agree with the bouncer. So now that girl should open the door. So he gets into it with the bouncers, and they go and tell Shorty, yo, check, because he's kind of big, but it's more gonna bounce him out. Mm-hmm. Acting up.
Right.
He goes, instead of checking that man, you felt like your girl with you. He told her, get your food, or they gonna do something, whatever the case may be. If you felt disrespected as a man, right then and there, you check them. You check them. You don't wait until you get home and argue with your girl about why she allowed somebody to talk to you a certain way when you're the man.
And she looking at you like, nigga, you was there. You could have said something right there.
Right there. So I get a call at 1 o'clock in the morning, like, come get your boy. He's out here bugging out. He's yelling. He's flipping. She lives in a private neighborhood. He's yelling, cursing out. I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
You got to be kidding me. Yeah.
You got to be kidding me, right? So I went there. And Rob, if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong.
Nah, I'm following you so far, bro.
I spazzed on him. I didn't only spaz on him. I let him know what he was, a little fucking boy. And he shouldn't have been there. He was out of pocket. I told him I'm driving him to the bus station, get on the bus, and leave.
Oh, wow.
Basically.
Now, I did exactly what I said. Because contrary to, who he made me thought he was, he know me. We knew each other, so
right.
Get on the bus and leave. To this day, that's one of my closest friends. And we still are friends over 20-some years. The point I'm making is when you allow yourself to become vulnerable for a woman and you lose yourself in that relationship because you get who you are as a man, you disregard your morals, you allow people to step in, disrespect you because you feel disrespect.
Mm-hmm.
Listen what I said. You
You
allow
feel.
somebody to disrespect you because you felt
Mm-hmm.
disrespect. Doesn't mean it actually that's how you felt. But you felt that way because you belittled yourself as a man.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than saying something like you should have, you handled it with the and that was your mistake.
Big time. You know, and how I would double down on that even so is I 100% agree with the bounces. Is first off, I agree with you. First and foremost, he should have not been with her at work. There's certain avenues I don't want to be with her in because I want her to be able to move free. Because I know, like there's a brunch spot she likes to go to, and not most of the time I prefer she go by herself because when I'm with her, she's the whole time worrying about how I'm doing, and I'm just like a wallflower type of energy. You know what I'm saying? So I'm diminishing how good of a time you can have because this ain't really my thing. You know what I'm saying? So he ain't had no business going there. Like you said, he messing up the money. Cause she's got to worry about him sitting there. And now she's got to worry about trying to respect him while she's serving drinks and how you do that. Like when normally hey, you know, free willy nilly in the house, she should be. She's working. She's serving drinks. You think
Exactly.
she gonna serve drinks, ice grilling and spilling, you know, slamming it on the table and shit like that? You know, so that's mistake number one.
Very
You know,
popular. I
and
told him.
then the second mistake is my bro, like especially, and I get it, it's difficult sometimes for our boys transitioning because you know shit been one set of rules for a long time, and now all of a sudden there's a whole other set of rules, if it's rules at all. But when you're dealing with a beautiful, attractive woman, man, you gotta give her a lane to operate in. You know what I'm saying? Like you just can't jump into that lane and when it's gonna be all about you is when y'all in the home, when y'all in the crib, when y'all chilling, you know. But when she's out when we're out in the world together, like I said, it could be just the white girls at the mall. Sometimes they're like, "Oh, you look so beautiful, you're dressed," and I gotta give her a minute to stop and you know reciprocate. And it's annoying as hell to me sometimes, you know. But it's the cost of taking her out in public. You know what I mean? That ain't for everybody. It it
Exactly.
it, it just really isn't, you know, because sometimes us as men think that like she can't defend my masculinity and my manhood, none of that. Like, and the problem that I think what make guys feel a certain way is they not really confident where they stand at in the relationship. So it's manifesting and a man stepping. Like, I don't care if Devin Booker stepped to her. You know, I might pay more attention than the next nigga. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not
You
really
see,
worried off of that energy of just him approaching her. I'm worried off the energy if she's sitting over there
Oh,
touching his thigh. Now I'm like, hold up. Now I'm feeling disrespected. You know what I'm saying? Because
I have
she's
what
not respecting our relationship right now.
I have what you call a non-approachable persona, and I'm happy with that only because out with my wife, right? I like to do two things. I love my wife to walk slightly ahead of me, and I get a kick out of the dudes that be like, damn, and then turn around and see me looking dead
Spit
in their
game.
face like, and they like, oh my bad, no, it ain't your bad. Yeah, she's a bad ass motherfucker. That's my wife. Yeah, she look good,
Thank
don't
you.
she? Now,
Appreciate it.
there you go. Appreciate that.
Appreciate it.
But see,
Appreciate it.
I don't allow them to disrespect. Remember, non-approachable persona. So when they look to see who's looking at them, look at her, I'm looking them dead in their face with the stiffest, hardest, stiff grill you could ever see. Like, I'm not smiling. I'm not laughing. I want to know what your next thing gonna be out your mouth. You
Is
can
you
say
gonna risk?
she's beautiful. The moment you go, yo, mom, and then you see me, and you have what you call an epiphany, you think twice now. Oh, nah, my bad. Nah, that's when I'm gonna check you. You see,
Right.
because that you had disrespectful intentions.
Well, that's that city energy, my man. Is he's spitting a lot of game too right now because I do something very similar. Is I want her to get that energy. You know what I mean? And I'm kind of like the guard dog. Like that's why, you know, a true you can tell somebody who really, and I'm not comparing women to dogs in the least. That's not what I'm doing. But what I'm talking about is a similar type principle. Uh, your dog's supposed to walk slightly behind you to the side. You know what I'm saying? That's when you really have a trained dog, because the dog understands he's not running nothing. You are. You
And
know
I
what I'm
got
saying? And I think with women, it's almost the opposite. It's like, I'm not the pretty one. She is.
that's right.
So I'm leading with her. You know what I'm saying? So she's
My
going to
point.
get us in the door before I do. Okay. I'm no idiot. But like you said, but when I come up and trailing, like, oh no, she's not by herself.
There
Either
you go.
you're going to respect it or check it.
There you
And your demeanor, I doubt very seriously many guys is really playing them games. And again, like you said, because you cut from the city, you know, where niggas that do that sometimes to provoke or to see how you made or to see what you cut
yes,
with. And
yes.
because you can't have a bad chick in certain neighborhoods if you a
There you
lame
go.
dude.
There you go. You can't have a bad girl, a bad chick where I come from if you ain't gonna stand down and hold it down. Because I'm gonna be real
Bro.
with you. I know a couple of niggas that you right in your face, be like, yo, damn, shorty, you messing with him?
And not only that, she expecting that. But that's the difference. We live in this era where women is like determined, like women that want to tell you, we've had this conversation, all right. That's why they say iron sharpen iron. Women are so confused talking about men ain't shit and all of this stuff is because y'all are out here dealing with men that other niggas look at like he ain't shit too.
Exactly.
And
Yo,
if y'all would
so,
actually listen to us a little bit, you would probably peep that. But y'all not.
yo,
Y'all
Rob,
just
you hit
doing your own, and just because a nigga show a couple dollars or he got a nice car or he got a little job or whatever it is that you cherry picking for is what makes a good man. Once a fool show you that no, a good man is a good man in rags.
thank you. Let me tell you something, Rob. What you just said opened up a whole different analogy for me. I'll tell you like this. I use a lot of street terminology when it comes to relationships only because it gets you far.
It
Let me
does.
let me say this. If you're in your relationship and you allow things to happen, it's gonna happen. That's just the nature. If you out in the street, allow some things that are gonna happen over and over again.
Over and over and over again.
So I handle things. My relationship.
Hey, Shammy. Now you cool. But yeah, that's why we have the rule no disrespect. Because once that door opens, that's the one thing in relationships I found you don't really come back from. Once a person is willing and able and okay with disrespecting you, chances are they're gonna keep doing it. Because you're saying, I'm gonna forgive you for it.
So so it's so funny because as much as we say cheating isn't a deal breaker, we're very clear about the lines of disrespect. And I think that's what people need to understand. I'm not going to throw away my relationship. Oh,
Dean had a
as a
dip.
woman.
No, we
I'm not
understand.
going to throw
We're
away
gonna
my relationship.
segue.
She'll probably come back. I'm not going to throw away my relationship over an indiscretion, but disrespect is something that I can't come back from. And again, I think people know what's disrespectful. I think people know what their partners can and cannot tolerate. I think that's very clear. I think, however, we make missteps and misjudgments in relationships, right? There are things that we do that we go, oops, and we wish we could take it back. And sometimes cheating is one of it. But again, a man going out and pursuing a woman making herself fully available to other men, Rob making himself available to other women, Rob being in the streets and acting as if he isn't in a relationship when pressed to ask. Like, it's one thing. There's no such thing as acting single or acting married. I do not believe that. But I think if someone is trying to get at me,
there's energy though.
The energy is very clear. I'm very quick to say, you know what, I appreciate it, but I'm in a relationship. I expect Rob to do the same. I appreciate it. I'm in a relationship. Rob walks down the street. He's 6'9". 90-year-old women are looking up at him. So of course the 20-something and the 30-something and the 40-something-year-old women who are in his dating range are looking at him too. I'm very clear about that. But what I don't deal with is Rob going around getting numbers, not acknowledging his relationship status. All of that to me is disrespect. But in 10 years, if he has an indiscretion, I'm not throwing away the relationship over that.
Yeah, I think what you're speaking on a little bit is what the energy portion of it. It's whether the energy is respectful or not. Like, and I'm gonna use myself for an instance. I could be a woman can come up to me and she could be drop dead gorgeous, and we can have a conversation, and flirting's going on or whatever. But I feel that at the point that she gives me that type of vibe, that she'd like it to be a vibe, that's when it's on me to curb that. Like, nah, that's not the kind of vibe that we're gonna be on. And at that point, either she's going to change how she's relating to me, and now it backs up into truly, okay, you're in a relationship. I'm going to respect your relationship, and the conversation is going to move forward from there. That's one thing. It's very different if that's not the case. So when I say I don't mind her being out there, I know she does that. I know she represents me when she's out in public. So I don't have to worry about how long she was talking to someone or the breadth of the conversation or what was discussed. I know it's usually coming from some type of perspective of, look, she's not the type to have a conversation with somebody who's not projecting they doing something. They've got something going on. There could be some either a network or a learning experience or something there, So that's kind of how I look at it.
So, hello, Peppa Seed. You said a homeboy made up a concept, respectful cheating. Some are disrespectful how they go about it. Here's the thing. I will not tolerate Rob being a cheater. I will not leave him for cheating. And there's a clip. So again, I will not deal with Rob being a cheater, but I'm not going to leave him for cheating. And I think that's where people get it twisted, right? I think we're all allowed a bad moment. If you're together, Dean has been with his wife for 20 years. That is a long time. My daughter is 20 years old, so I understand how long 20 years. It is a long damn time. However, Rob having an indiscretion and cheating is one thing. Rob being a cheater. I don't know if you can respectfully be a cheater.
I don't think so, because you're actually actively pursuing other women. Like, you're really making, like, that's to me what a cheater is like, he's not coming into the situation with this new, okay, so like the married man cheater, and I'm drop some game here. The typical married man cheater guy, in my opinion, from what I've experienced in other men, is he's not, whether he's stating he's in a relationship or he's married or not, he's still leaving that door cracked open that this other woman can be with him. Mm-hmm. You feel what I'm saying? That's cheating like a motherfucker. Don't let anybody else tell you otherwise. That's kind of emotional terrorism, because that guy never gets these other women by painting his relationship in a good light. Mm-hmm. You dig what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, so the woman he's got at home is always going to be deficient to him in some way. But trust me, when he goes back to the crib, he's probably not expressing that same energy to the woman in his house. He might be like, oh, she don't do this, she don't do that, she don't do the third. But when he goes back home, he's not getting at her about doing this, that, and the third. So Sorlin Sage is asking, what if it's merely about sex, not about love or attachment, just getting a nut? For the guy, that's kind of sex addiction type behavior, I would say. Like, that's just addicted to strange is what I would call that. And I think that's something more than that, because if you're happy in your, like I said, the justification that I have for cheating is usually take the man that is happy in his life, happy with his wife, loves his children, loves his house, loves his car, loves his pets. He's on a business trip, and the wait, she said not like that. So, but no, that's the only type of cheating that I kind of look at is like is understandable, because that's an indiscretion. That's something that the experience, while it might have been what it was, if he wouldn't choose that experience over throwing everything he has away. You know what I'm saying? The typical cheater, he knows he's risking everything and he just don't care.
Oh, so let me also back up. Sorrel and Sage had also said
Just to get a nut.
previously, once gets a chance, twice is a choice. I agree. After you've had an indiscretion once and then you decide to have it again, then that is definitely a choice, because I think there's that sense of guilt. I think most people would feel stepping out on a relationship and a person that they love, but when they do it again, it definitely is a choice. So I meant for women too. So 2 questions. Do women attach sex and love? Pepper Seed wants to ask that. Most women, I would say most women attach some type of emotion to sex. It is very rare that I have spoken to a woman where she really was just out there trying to get a nut. It does happen, and there are situations where you meet someone and there's that level of attractiveness. There's nothing else, nothing you have in common, but you want to hit it, and that might happen, but I think it's very rare. A lot of the times we are attaching an emotion to sex, and so this is why I think it hits men harder when their women cheats. This is why even a man who is a serial cheater, the moment he heard his woman has stepped out, he's broken, because he now feels like he's lost her, because not only did she give her body to someone, she possibly gave her heart or her emotion. Where men, like Rob said earlier, sometimes it's just a Tuesday, like it is what it is. But for a lot of women, in order to get into that situation where you're even cheating, right, you have some type of emotional connection to the man. So Pepper Seed.
Oh, that's a good situation. Pepper Seed said, I don't get if one spouse withholds sex and then get mad if spouse finds sex outside that sexless marriage. Well, there's so much wrong with that situation that, yeah, I agree with you 100%. If you're not satisfying your partner, you should not be shocked nor surprised to find out that they getting a release from somewhere else.
But here's my thing. Getting into a relationship is a commitment to have sex with that person. Like, if you're saying, I want monogamy, and that's my issue, right? You can't say you want monogamy, but don't give if it's the woman to the man. I can't say, Rob, I want monogamy, but then restrict how much sex we have.
Yeah, that
because
doesn't
what
make
is
no
the
sense.
point of me asking for monogamy if I'm not going to get the thing he has? Whether we like it or not as women, I'm going to be real for a second as women. Whether we like it or not, a man choosing to be with you is him saying, I want unlimited sex with you. I don't want to go out there. I don't want to be courting a woman. I don't want to be, paying for dinners and doing all of the bull crap. I'm with you, and I want unlimited sex with you. So the moment you are saying, okay, well, you've chosen me, but we can only have sex on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Friday, and again, not when I'm on my period, so there's a week out, so you're having sex, 9 times a month. And man's like, then why did I get into a monogamous relationship? I could have been out there in these streets, right?
Yeah, that's back in the days, the fellas used to call that in-house, is when you have in-house coochie, means that you live with a woman, and there really shouldn't be no reason when you're feeling a certain kind of way that you shouldn't be able to express that, get that off. And again, I think that's why it's so important in romantic relationships to have conversations and compatibility, because one, without the conversations, they point out problems before they arise.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah. No, don't do it.
I'm going to go through a couple of things. So Ann Jean had asked, what about communication? And Duke responded, good communication helps a lot, but a lot of relationships have poor communication.
Very.
And Pepper Seed is saying then they use sex as a weapon. And then Sorlin says 9 times. Who are these lucky people having sex 9 times a month? I'm going to go to Angie for a second. Yes, communication is key. I know, right? Poor thing. Communication is key. That is why Rob and I have this show. We're talking about changing the conversation around Black relationships because the foundation of our relationship is our communication style, because we're able to communicate about everything and everything. Much, and not even just about everything and anything. We have left the door open so that we can discuss anything under the sun. The issue arises is when you have poor communication, like Duke has said, and you're in a space where your man feels he's cut off from you. Sex is how a lot of people show love. Sex is how a lot of people connect. I think we have gotten away from the idea of sex being a beautiful thing. There's been all these derogatory things around sex these days, but sex is how we express our love to each other. It's, the way he holds me at night, the way he kisses me at night, all of those things are, hold on, when you're in a committed relationship, sex is how you're supposed to express your love for each other, at least one of the ways. It is clearly not the primary way, but it is one of the ways I express my love to you is by having sex with you.
And baby, I wasn't about to disagree with you at all. I agree with you 100%.
Oh, like,
I was just going to interject. This is why I think also it is important that y'all both don't work them crazy 40, 50, 60-hour a week jobs. A lot of relationships, y'all are too tired to get it in.
Oh no, I'm never too tired for that.
If I work 60 hours and she works 60 hours, when you have time for loving time, And I think that in the modern world, a lot of couples get so busy into having stuff and doing stuff that they forget about the whole purpose of the relationship, which is each other, which is to support and build each other up. That's where we came together at, is like, that's always objective and mission and primary objective. Mission number one is to push and support the other person to being the best person that they want to be.
So I'm gonna read what Sorrel and Sage is, and thank you guys for being
you guys
in
are all
the show
over
today.
Like,
so Sorrel and Sage, and that's our sponsor. Everybody, you can see behind me, Sorrel and Sage. It's wonderful. It's a connector. It's a healer. It's celebratory. It's war. It's peace. It's it's communication without words. Preach, girl. That is exactly what it is. It is communication without words. Pepacita says some people can't talk to each other because they're shocked that their mate is thinking that, so they can't. Oh my God, can we please talk about that? There is not a thing that I think I can say to Rob or Rob can say to me that would be shocking. Why? Because again, when we came together, we talked about everything under the sun, and we made sure that we were in a space that there would be no shocking. Because I've said some things to him in the beginning, and he said some things to me in the beginning that would have probably made other people run. But instead of doing that, what we would do is we would dig down and we would find out more, and we would drill down to really better understand what the person thinks about what they said, how they got to feel the way they feel about what they said, all of those things. Like, because we're both such intellectual people, and again, we have a show called Fuck Your Feelings, we will put the feelings aside and really dig down into what's below what you just said, what's beneath the surface of what you just said, and we would really remove our feelings. And I would say, and again, because I think as women, we need to speak to women, and as a man, he needs to speak to men, and I would say, women would be better off if they fucked their feelings in their relationship and allowed their men to be men. Yeah, men are not women. Men do not have our communication style. They're not going to come to us like our bestie does and wipe our tears in the same way and give us the ooey-eye feeling. That's why we have female best friends. That's not necessarily why you have your men. Your men has a certain strength that we need as women, because we don't have that. So in this world of, they're fuckboys and toxic masculinity and all of that, it is an attack on men's masculinity. Men want women to be women, and they're not. Please, honestly, this, I know, again, this, nobody wants to talk about this. Everybody wants to be mad at Kevin Samuels and so forth. So I'm a woman, and I'm going to speak to women. Fuck your feelings in a relationship and stop attacking masculinity. But again, you can't attack masculinity and then schedule sex with your men, which is how your men actually will show you that connection that you needed. So how do you attack his masculinity, but then you also don't give him sex? And then you say that you want a good relationship. And then when the man leaves the relationship, you say men ain't shit. No, you ain't shit. And then, yeah, I said it.
Shots fired. I don't. My name is Robert, and I support this message. She said a lot there, and I agree. Women need to check women. Men need to check men. That's why I enjoyed having the conversation with Nate earlier. Like my dude was just dropping crazy game, and stop the judgment. People say they want intimacy. You can't have intimacy without allowing a person to be vulnerable, and a person will never be vulnerable with you if they feel like their honest self, if they reveal that to you, that you're going to come up with all of the judgment. But then I think on the flip side of that, don't reveal your honest self going into meeting that person either. You know what I'm saying? In order to be authentic, you got to be authentic. You know what I'm saying?
I'm going to read some of these comments because these are good comments. So Duke is saying, we need to get to a place that you feel comfortable about letting your partner know what exactly you want. Even if it's freaky as fuck, let your partner know. That is facts. Babe, can you scroll for me? Peppa Seed said, some people think marriage is so holy. They not the same after I do. They don't dress, she know a wife. Duke says, preach. Duke also said, a lot of the time women think that men know what they are thinking. It is crazy. That is facts. I don't ever assume Rob knows what I'm thinking. This is why, again, we even have this show, because of some of the crazy discussions that we have on both sides. I don't assume anything. I don't assume he knows how I feel. I don't assume he knows how I'm thinking. I will sit down with him and express it to him, because sometimes Rob is completely, like, he just doesn't know. He's oblivious. He's oblivious to certain things because that's not his focus. That's not his thing. And me knowing that, I'm sitting down and expressing that to him. Sometimes I'm oblivious. I'm not a man. I don't operate as a 6'9" black man out in the world. So there's certain things I'm oblivious to. And so we also make sure that communication, we communicate, listen, find what works for you. We tend to have a lot of conversations in bed at night when we're like, all the distractions are gone, the phone is put away, and this is our time to kind of break down the day. And this is our time to express whatever is going on and get to the bottom, so we don't have any lingering things. And I think people need to focus and put the time and invest. I'm going to say this word, invest into your relationship. People are investing into so many other things, but not the relationships. And people, I'm going to say this. And women, I'm going to say this, and you're not going to like it, but here we go. Ladies, what Rob said earlier about women being too tired to men sometimes is facts. What did you do?
I didn't mean to do nothing. Sorry.
Rob is over here playing with stuff that he doesn't need to be playing with. Anywho, what I think what women need to understand, and black women, I'm going to speak to you because this show is about changing the conversation around black relationships. The only people who have benefited from black women and the strong black women phenomenon and going out and working 50, 60 hours a week is corporations. And you know who often run those corporations? White men. So as black women are out there working, it's so that white men's wives can stay home. So black women have been working, so white women get to stay home and take care of their families. How about that?
This is Robert, and the NBA and me supports that message. Like, for real, I don't think that we really have unpacked and examined how that's really impacted our community. And that's something we're going to spend more time delving into over the next couple of shows, is some of the economics and some of the demographics of who really has benefited from these attitude adjustments in our community. You know what I mean? Because again, black women grinding, nothing wrong with that. But if daddy in jail, mama working all the time, who at home with the kids, man?
Well, Peppa Seed said, neglect the man for the job and pick them.
And like you said, too tired. You know, it's hard to come home and be sexy when you done put in, 50, 60-hour weeks. You know what I'm saying?
Days. I've been there.
And
listen, I've been there.
I've been in, and I've been through the experience of being with a person who it seemed like their job got the best version of them, not the home. And that's hard to swallow as a man, feeling like your woman puts her better face on for the man to get a check than she does for you to keep y'all shit going. You know what I'm saying?
Say next topic for the show: Black women versus white women. I would need to get a white woman on here because I don't speak white women. I only speak Black women.
White women are crafty.
I'm telling you, when my girlfriend said it on our other show, Not Your Typical Girl Talk. When she left university, the wedding invitations that she was getting was to white weddings, was to her white female classmates who had all found husbands and were getting married while we were out there building a career. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think if you find, just like Sorlin Sage says, if you find the right relationship, then you invest into it. The problem is we're investing our energy into the wrong places. If we're going to change the conversation around Black relationships, it's really talk about it. We cannot have a good Black community if we do not have good Black families. Families.
And I tell you the funny thing, like, take and I'm not trying to shit on the feminists, but another show. But take the feminist rally, right? The difference between the white women and the Black women at that rally is the white women go home to husbands and long-term boyfriends, and the Black women go home to empty houses.
The feminist movement is not for Black women.
It isn't. It wasn't designed for you guys.
But it was designed to keep us out in the workplace. It was designed to say, you can be strong, you can have your own, you should do this, you should do that. Again, you're right. The white women went home to their husbands.
Let's be real, it was designed to attack us too. It was another salvo against the Black man. Like, again, you look around the world, who has the most issues with their women, and go through all of these type of ridiculous conversations that we have as a community that, frankly, I think other races look at Black people. That's why we go through some of the stuff that we go through, is because we support some of these dumbass narratives on our own.
Well, Peppa Seed, again, and I love the name, by the way, of Peppa Seed. I'm going to assume you're Yachty. Nuclear family is almost non-existent, and that is facts. And listen, I can tell you as a single household raising my child, I don't necessarily like to say single mother because she had a father who was actually quite active in her life, but she lived with me. We were not together. So whatever you want to call that. I can tell you it is difficult. I think it was easier for me because I was raising a girl. I could not imagine raising a young man, raising a young boy, and trying to help him navigate this world as a Black man. I don't think I would have been equipped for that. I definitely would have had to figure out ways to, at the very least, find a community of men to help raise my son, because as a woman, I am not equipped to teach a Black man how to be a man. I just am not. And so I think, again, choose family and choose marriage over kids. And I know it sounds terrible. Here's the thing. As women, we need to decide to protect our womb. We need to stop having forcible fathers. A man having sex with you does not mean he wants to be the father to your child. And we need to stop having and assuming these things. People need to be having real conversations about where they stand. I think a lot of people are using sex as some kind of prize at the end of some tunnel, and they're not having real conversations of what it means. Men, protect your seed. Assume that when you sleep with a woman, that if she gets pregnant, she's having your baby, whether you like it or not.
Whether you like it or not. I agree with that 100%, And it's just, it's really interesting from my perspective, because, again, we look at things kind of traditionally. And it's funny, when I was in my 20s, I wanted a partner. I wanted 50-50. I wanted her to be a lawyer. I wanted to be a doctor, all of that. I wanted this modern shit. And then I seen how it's almost toxic, to be honest with you. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not really set up for long-term success. You get older, you think of things a little bit more traditionally. And I look at like our grandparents and our great grandparents and how they looked at something as simple as success. In those days, a woman was viewed as successful based on the performance of her family. Okay. And a man was viewed as successful based on the performance of his woman. Because how you a successful man and you ain't got no woman, and how you a successful woman and your family isn't doing well.
Yeah, that is facts. Let me tell you something about my life. My mother does not know what I went to university for. She doesn't know. I'm Jamaican, so she doesn't call it a degree. She calls it a certificate. So she doesn't know what my university certificate is in. She doesn't know what jobs I've had. She doesn't know what titles I've had. And quite frankly, I do not think she even cares. But what she does care about is the fact that I've raised her granddaughter to be a respectful young woman. I raised her granddaughter and she's an intelligent young woman. She would talk about how I raised her granddaughter, my job, all of the things. I've been hobnobbing with the best of the best. And my mother knows none of that. And quite frankly, she does not care. It was raise my granddaughter and find a husband. Okay. Raise my granddaughter, find a husband. My mother's message to me growing up was, and I'm going to say it in Patois, if you don't know how to cook, you're not going to find a man. That was her entire life lesson to me. You don't know how to cook, you're not going to find a man. You don't know how to clean, you're not going to find a man. The man not going to want you if you don't know how to do nothing. Like, that was her, she drilled into me. My mother was not one of the people. But again, I think I'm West Indian. I'm Jamaican. So I didn't grow up with the the Black American modern women go out and do your thing and make your money. My mother did talk about the mad money, make sure you keep up your money, blah, blah, blah. But it was also just in case your husband lost his job. And therefore you needed to take that mad money to make sure that the family could float until your husband found another job. It wasn't mad money so you could get up and leave him, but it was kind of the reinvestment into the family. So that's what I grew up with. I grew up with the idea that family was first and foremost. The man was served first. The man gets the big piece of chicken. The woman is supposed to make sure she's taken care of. We as Jamaican women, and the Jamaican women and the West Indian women here can tell you this even big. Here is the thing about, we even get taught that we should wash our drawers with our men's boxers. Okay, that is how refined, like it goes. A Jamaican woman, you do not wash your drawers with your men's boxers. So let's be clear. I do not wash my panties with Rob's things. The children's clothes do not get washed with the adult clothes. Children's clothes are washed separately and adult clothes are washed differently. If I'm going to have drawers, I cannot actually wash them with Rob's clothes. Like, that's how deep we get into understanding our roles as women and wives. Again, in my Jamaican household, but I can tell you many of the Jamaicans who are on here would say the same things. There is a reason. If you go into a Jamaican woman's house, you might see her panties that are washed and she's put up on there. She knows when she does laundry, her man's boxers can't be mixed with her drawers, so she will wash them separately and she makes sure that laundry times, like, that is how it, exactly, me not wash no girl panty. Thank you, Shelly. Shelly's Jamaican. That's how it goes. That's just how it absolutely goes. So that's how we are groomed. And again, yes, we can go out there and we can get jobs, but as West Indian women, we are understood that the man, again, for most, and I will speak for myself and a lot of the ladies I know on here, we are groomed to take care of our men in that way. We see that as a source of pride. It is not like I must do it, or I'm a slave to my man. It is a source of pride to know that your man has gone out there and his clothes is ironed and you've made his lunch. And people at work are talking about how good his performance is. Why? Because his home is good. Rob's performance at work is indicative of what's going on at home. If home is effed, work production is effed. If home is good, he's like flying, getting promotions and all those types of things. Isn't that what you want for your man? I'm just saying, but maybe that's just
I don't know. I don't know. Some of these operations be going in a way where I think it's, again, because I have a certain theory. I think there's a certain caliber of people running around out here in the world today that they just want to be in a relationship so they can blame their life on the other person. You feel what I'm saying? Like, it's never them, it's always the other person.
That part.
That part.
What's the point of having a significant other if they're not bringing out the best in you? Shelley said you must wash them when you bathe first and in the laundry after you separate them from the man. You see, Shelley and I went to high school. She's a yada. She gets it. And this is not a bad thing. I'm going to put this clip out. For all the Black American women, we are not trying to shade you. But it is not a bad thing to invest into your man. It is not a bad thing because, again, when you invest into your man, he will reinvest into the home, which means he's reinvesting in you. Your employer doesn't do that. You invest in your employer and they give you a paycheck. That is not investment. That's not what that is. They're not invested in you. They're just giving you a portion of what they made. Come on, man.
Yeah, and I think that, again, it's but yeah, it's a lick for some.
Let's read that because I want this to be a clip. Is marriage a get-rich-quick scam for some?
It's a lick for some. I think they go into it, or even procreation is a lick for some people.
Oh no, procreation is definitely.
So I think marriage is a more elevated version of the game that the baby mamas play. You know what I mean? He's successful. He has a good job. He's making money. I'm going to try to get pregnant, have his kid, and he's going to have to pay me to support his child. That
part. Cass says it. Even if it's the other person, it's your fault for choosing that person. It all comes back to yourself.
Yep.
That is in my new book, Fuck Your Feelings, and in Journey to Imperfect Love, coming out in March. I talk about that. Always. Rob is not responsible for my choices. Me choosing to sit on this couch every day is my choice. Me choosing to pack up my life to be beside him is my choice. He is not responsible for that. So if I'm not happy, it's also my choice. It is not Rob's responsibility to make me happy. I need to find that happiness within myself. But I think if you're doing the right things and operating your relationship in a space where you guys, listen, Dean, I'm sorry Dean, got cut up, but Dean had asked me a question and I asked it on the thing. Our relationship is built like a business. This was a merger. This was two people merging their lives together, like companies merge together. Companies do not merge if they cannot find something in common to help them both get to where they want to be, which is profitability. So why would you merge with someone with whom you cannot go forward together to seek whatever it is that you jointly want, whatever that might be? So again, there are a lot of people who want to get married, but don't want the marriage. They don't want the duties that come with the marriage. They don't even want the duties with cohabitation, right? There are certain duties that come with cohabitation. You have to pull and pull. It's like a contract negotiation, everybody. Weak ladies, forget the narrative when they told you can have it all. No, you cannot. No one can have it all. Jesus didn't have it all. That's all I'm going to say.
Mm-mm. And like Pepper C said, a man can work to get rich for his wife and family. If he loses, him can lose everything. That's I think women I tend to discount the fact that we're just as vulnerable about you leaving us as we are with with that you are of us cheating and doing all of these crazy things that y'all expect men to do out here these days. Women leave, and that's why I put it, we were having a conversation once, I think, and it's a more natural perspective, a woman's feelings should be a bigger factor than the man's in the relationship. Now, if I'm an emotional wreck and she's like, you being so sensitive, that's probably a weird position for both of us, and that's not something we find ourselves in very often. But one of the things that, we've discussed is it's not on her to, again, the happiness part is I have to make sure that I remain happy in this relationship, because at the point that I'm not happy in the relationship, that's when the relationship is truly in jeopardy.
I'm unhappy once a day.
At least, and she's at the point where she's reconciling that and addressing it and working on the Toshiba side of that unhappiness and just smacking her teeth at my parts of it, which is a better way of handling it. But ultimately, how she treats me is not her responsibility. That's mine.
Mm. Mm.
She can't do nothing to me. I don't let her.
Mm.
She can't say anything to me that I don't allow. She can't do anything to me that I don't allow. She can't, and that goes both ways. That cuts both ways. Hence the rule, no disrespect. Everything always comes back to that no disrespect because we both made an agreement. That's saying you don't want to be in this relationship no more.
That is, you don't, once the disrespect
Yeah,
starts,
when
it
you
is
want to
the
do
very
that, like
key. You don't want to be in this relationship anymore. Because I like to say to people, there are two things I cannot get back: time and the words after I've said them. And people seem to forget, listen, if you love your partner, there's certain shit you should never say to them. I don't care in the heat of anything. There is nothing in this world who's going to make me call out this man his name. I might say it in my head. I can't lie. I've cussed him a couple of dirty blood clot, Ross clot, pussy clot, bum clot, few times in my head. He's never heard it until I just said it out loud. He's never heard me utter those words. He's not supposed to. Because again, and I will say it over and over again, we're often making permanent decisions on temporary feelings. We got to fuck our feelings, because when you care about someone, you literally have to make sure that they are foremost in your mind. It is not slavery, women, for you to put your man first. There is nothing wrong with it.
Can be about love only. Absolutely.
No, relationships can't be about love
And let
only.
me say this, at her absolute most upset I can remember her ever being at me, yelling, cussing, screaming, but none of that was at me. You feel what I'm saying? At my absolute most upset, I'm sure she'll agree. Maybe not so much yelling, screaming, cussing. That's more like, again, it's different when I'm doing all of that. But never at her. I don't call her out her name. I'm not going to say anything that I wouldn't say if I wasn't upset. You got to fight fair on a certain level. You know what I mean? Now, it's like you might not have the filters on it. You might not have the tact around the words coming out, but you shouldn't be saying shit when you're mad that you wouldn't say when you're not. Like that's you playing dangerous with your situation.
Which is why, again, for us, cheating is the deal breaker, right? And I think a lot of people need to, they sometimes go, how is it okay if he cheats? You don't find that disrespectful? Because I think there is disrespect and there's disrespectful behavior. Something might be disrespectful, but it doesn't mean that your partner is disrespecting you. And I think we really need to be having these conversations. Truly, like, you need to be sitting down. Do you guys have a day where it's you guys just talking about your relationship and the state of your relationship? Why do people, we will watch the President's State of the Union, talk a bunch of nonsense, but you won't have a State of Union address in your relationship? How is the state of our relationship? What do we need to improve on? What do we need to do more of? What should we be doing less of? What do we need to be changing? How does the next 6 months look for us? How is this impacting our relationship? All of those different things. We have those conversations. And I've said something that most people don't like. I took a role recently, but it only is because Rob approved of it. And Rob approved of it because it was a role that I was kind of doing in my own consultancy, and we could see the benefits that it would do to our business. There was benefits to our business. He said, if you got a job working at being, the manager at Tim Hortons, no, like, where are you going? Because that doesn't benefit our relationships.
Some dudes aren't for talking about all that. And
well, then,
true. And before that, I think how childhood homes training set up many for failure. I agree with that, especially with negative, toxic communication styles. Let's be honest. If you grew up seeing your mom and dad yelling and cussing and screaming and throwing pots at each other, but then the next morning they talking about they love each other at breakfast, you might grow up thinking that that's what people that love each other do. We don't that's why I say important, perspective and seeing things in a certain alignment is important. We both understood, for us, the thing we valued the most in a relationship would be peace and stability and consistency. Those things that makes a great relationship to me. I'm certain Toshiba would agree with that, is that I don't expect a whole different person to walk in one day. You know what I mean? I don't expect her to come in with done a complete 180 on her worldviews or anything like that. I feel like I know who I'm dealing with, and there's a certain consistency. Like I said, even at her most upset, there was you could see in how she was moving that it was still on her mind to not be disrespectful, and vice versa. Absolutely. And that's how it should be. If you're comfortable flying off the handle, taking a cast iron skillet and then throwing it at your partner like that, I don't know, man. That's crazy.
So there's a great conversation happening here. And thank you guys for staying with us. I know it's a longer show than usual, but thank you guys. So Pepper Seed, I think how childhood homes training set up many for failure. Sorlin states that some dudes aren't for talking about all that. Princess Shelley Love says Jamaican men don't have those discussions. Babe, do you mind
I got you.
doing that? That's important. Can you scroll up a bit? Sorlin Sage says all that talking and all those feelings and questions is a lot. Here is the thing. Fuck your feelings. When you're having these conversations about your relationship, it's practicality. We don't have like the moment I bring feelings in, Rob shuts down the conversation because he's like, I don't give a fuck about your feelings right now. How does your feelings helping us to move along? And I know, again, for a lot of people, that's just like, oh my God, people have, even accused Rob of being abusive. It's kind of funny because we have this whole show, but if I was sitting down in feelings, Rob would not have a discussion with me. He is not built that way. He's just, he's going to shut down. He's logical. It's too logical. All them feelings. He can't quantify feelings. Rob needs something that he can quantify, and he can't quantify feelings, but he can quantify a 6-month, 12-month, 18-month plan where we actually have different objectives and what we need to do. And so when we sit down, we're talking about our relationship, which is also a business. That's what we do. Relationships are supposed to be business. You're supposed to merge with people who that you can, again, have value. You both bring value to the relationships. And, we were on an interview the other day. Again, shout out to 416 Love for bringing us on, where Rob was very clear. If you believe in gender rules, then you need to be with someone who believes in gender rules. If you do not believe in gender rules, then do not be with, that's the person you need to be with. 50-50.
Yeah.
If you believe in 50-50, be with a person who believes in 50-50. If you, like Rob, believes that I will take care of the financial home and my woman stays home, then that's what you need to do.
Yo, Duke Nation just put up there. It's hard for most people to fuck their feelings because you would have to retrain your mind for that. And I agree with that 100%, because too often, especially in this modern world, people are told that your feelings are supposed to matter to other people, or that something is supposed to move when you feel a certain type of way. And the reality is that that's the most bullshit that someone could ever tell you, because the world doesn't stop spinning for nobody. You know what I mean? Like, no matter how you feel about it, no matter whether you like it, I might hate sunsets, but that shit's coming up in the morning. So it shouldn't be that hard to recondition your mind. But I think critical thinking is a skill that's sorely lacking especially in America, because that's why we've had the outcomes over the last few years that we've had, is because people want to be led to a narrative. They don't want to figure life out, really. And that's just how I see it. That's my opinion. That's why we're doing this show, though, because we want people to talk about it. I think a lot of times people just do enough talking to get into a relationship, and then the talking stops. They just go on about the day-to-day life.
Duke's on it tonight. So Duke just said you definitely need to know what your partner morals and values are before getting into a relationship with that person. And thank you, Two Balls just joined. And she made a comment, cheating is not a deal breaker, but a baby is for me. Girl, me too.
Yeah, that's pretty much where she's at.
Had one baby on me, and then a woman reached out to me and said she possibly had twins. I didn't stick around to find out more about the twins.
Yeah, that's just wild reckless right there too. I ain't gonna
Because he
front.
was just
Like,
slinging
to be in a
wherever
relationship
he wanted to sling.
and having kids with another woman, like, that's really you wilding. And I think that most fellas would agree with that.
So that was choosing to me. Cheating and choosing are two different things. You were choosing because you went out there and you were just raw dog deep in some next woman, not thinking about your family at home. But, you know, I digress. That will be all in the book. And that's the thing, Duke. Duke, you are on it tonight. And thank you. Again, how do you have a conversation you don't understand what your partner's morals and values are? How do you have a conversation and you don't talk about what it looks like if you were to live together, what it looks like if you were to get married, what it looks like if someone were to lose their job? Like, all of these scenarios are scenarios that we should be talking about. It's more than just love. Love is not enough to sustain a relationship. Please stop believing in fairy tales, ladies. Just because you love a man does not mean that you can have and sustain a relationship with him. It's not enough. If you want marriage and he doesn't, leave. If you want kids and he doesn't, leave. If he wants kids and you don't, leave. It's never going to work.
It just doesn't. It just spinning your tires and wasting time. And yeah, that's super disrespectful, cheating, having kids.
And listen,
like,
babies, I had to go. And here's the thing.
Because that's gonna carry on forever.
I'm gonna preface it to say something. And here was the thing about my childhood that allowed me to see things a little bit differently. And so I sometimes give a little bit more leeway because of my childhood. I am the product of an affair. So my mother and father had an affair. My father was married, and he had an affair with my mom. However, my stepmother raised me. I call her mama. I call my biological mother mom, and I call my stepmother mama. My stepmother actually raised me when I was a baby. And so I can only imagine how it must have been for that woman to look at her husband's indiscretion every day and have to feed me, bathe me, burp me, and all of the things that came with that. And so I'm very sensitive to cheating because my father, my daddy is the greatest man on the face of the earth, but he's a flawed man. He's a great daddy. He's a flawed man. And my stepmother had to deal with his flaw, which was me. And so for me, I'm very understanding because I understand that good men can make mistakes. But again, choosing over and over and over again, I was the only baby born in that situation. It never happened again. After they separated, then he went out and had another life. They were still legally married, but that was very different. They were no longer together. But in terms of a baby, I was the only baby that was born out of that. And so for me, I'm very sensitive to the idea that, again, indiscretions, even good men make indiscretions. But when you start consistently doing that and continue doing that, then it's a problem.
Yeah. Agreed.
Jesus Christ, 31.
Yeah, Pepper C said my daddy was a bedroom bully, supposedly 31 of us. And yeah, that's old school. Sometimes it goes down like that, you know.
Duke said, and I was away from my dad to come to Canada. And when my dad got to Canada, he was testing out beer. Oh, I'm dead.
Y'all crazy. I'm telling you, you know what I mean? Y'all got to be careful with us men sometimes because we be doing stuff for the wrong reasons, absolutely. But again, so do women. We all do. And that's, again, the purpose of the show is to have these conversations so you don't find yourself getting into certain type of stuff in any type of relationship, whether it's, you know, let's be honest, some people come at you on a friendship level wanting something from you, planning on getting something from you, planning on violating you or manipulating you or taking advantage of you in some kind of way. You know, people come to you like that from business relationships, from familiar relationships. Like, so when we say like changing the conversation around Black relationships, it's not just dating and marriage and boyfriend and girlfriend and couples. It's all of these, because the only way to move the ball forward is to talk about it. Like, the ball is not going to levitate and move itself. You know what I mean? And that old school mentality of some things is best not talked about, we don't really agree with that one either. It's the best skill some men have is juking pum pum. Yeah, what you call it, smooth talker? Like, yo, it is. And
he's like,
sometimes y'all have to be careful, ladies. But that's the point that, you know, that we were making earlier in the conversation, is that a lot of times you see a fella and it's like these women are checking for him, but other men don't have
Don't
no
respect him.
respect for this dude.
Yeah,
So
ladies, don't date men that other men don't respect. Do your
yeah,
homework.
that's a fairly good rule of thumb. For real, because
I'm
if
gonna
you
repeat
ask
it.
in the streets a little bit, you ask around the neighborhood a little bit, other men gonna have a opinion about this guy. And if he's a trash, he's a bitch, he's a cheater. Like some guys will tell you, and that's what he do, and you're gonna be broke up behind it. Like men are relatively upfront about a lot of stuff if you care to ask us about it. That's what's messed up is y'all got men out here feeling so irrelevant. We just sitting back on the sidelines keeping quiet because it's like y'all don't want to listen to nobody.
I'm sorry. I had to put my hand up because that and we might listen. I'm gonna need like 5 minutes for this. So Princess Shelley Love is asking, what about the woman who's been in a relationship for multiple years, like 10 plus years, wants a ring but hasn't received it?
I hate to say it, sis, but he been in a relationship 10 years. Why he gotta do it now?
Sorry, I was gonna be silent. Here's my thing.
Oh yeah, Duke's right.
Here's my thing. What conversations was 10 years is a long time. That's half of the amount of time my child has been alive, and I feel like I've been a parent for 65 million years. So what conversations was a woman having with a man about the marriage? Because girl, cap that part. I am not waiting more than 2.
Yeah, that's where it comes. Like you got to enforce your situation sometime, and if you're like that's an acceptable amount of time to figure out what you want to do. Let's just put it
but
like
here's
that.
the thing, you're on different paths now. Because here is what we shouldn't be afraid to walk away from things if we're on different paths. I think at the age that Rob and I were, we had to be clear that we were on the same path, right? We are too old to be trying to do this over and over again. So we were not. If you meet at 21 and at 21 you don't value the concept of marriage and you're both in around that age, but all of a sudden by the time you're 28, 29, that changes. If your partner is still on that same, I just don't see it, we've just been doing this, then somebody needs to make a decision to go. After a decade, he's just dating to move towards nothing. Yes, Kemba.
And honestly, I ain't even really throwing shade at it, but y'all have to you gotta realize that that's why, again, it's unequally yoked isn't just a biblical thing. That shit goes across the board for whether you're a Rasta, whether you're atheist, whether you're whatever your description, your politics, your whatever. You want to be in the same cart with the person you're with, and I think that's where the term unequally yoked comes from. Is there's too much space between y'all, and that can really become a thing. I think it's okay to have differences in a relationship,
we're culturally so different.
But there shouldn't be those huge differences where it's kind of hard to respect the person on the other side. Some of those like hot button issues, like religion. I know someone brought up religion earlier. Look, if
hold on, no, we're not even going to get this. I need to talk about this.
Oh,
so these people are living together and they have multiple children, but this is where I'm gonna say something. Women, I have to speak to the women. Do better.
Yeah.
There is no way I'm having a man's child, multiple children, and not defining what I want. We need to do better. You can love the man till kingdom come. I love Rob to the moon and back. But there are certain things that I'm not going to do. Rob is very clear about marriage between us. Rob is very clear about where we wanted to go. We made this very clear. We don't want any more children. Like all of these things we're very clear about. So as a woman, I'm going to speak to women. Why would you put yourself in a situation where he will make you a mother but not a wife?
And again, like life happens, and I agree with that message wholeheartedly, because women, y'all really got to start looking at it like That's the biggest, because that's how a man looks at it. It's like that's the biggest thing you can do for a dude is have his kid. You know what I mean? Um, so and it is marriage is white man's paperwork.
We talk
We
about
was
that all
just
the
joking
time.
about that. We talk about that all the time, but there's certain things that when you get into the logistics of the relationship and how you want to provide for your significant other or how you want to make arrangements for your significant other, it's also legal ramifications around marriage. But the point was made earlier of you some not everybody wants to keep moving forward in life or moving up in life or taking things to the next place, you know. So it sounds like, again, 10 years, you have children, he feels like he has a family, he feels like he's settled in his situation. Maybe marriage isn't the maybe you guys, again, maybe you guys don't view marriage in the same way.
But
And
I would not advocate breaking up that family though, because now you all have kids together. So the game has changed. A woman with a man for 10 years and no kids is very different. She can cut that relationship and go off and there's no ramifications. Children create a completely different dynamic. And so I would say it sucks for this woman who wants marriage, but I will never advocate breaking up a black family. And
no,
so this is how they're gonna have to live. She's gonna have to deal with the fact that he doesn't view marriage in the same way that she does, and they're gonna raise their children together. And in the children's eyes, mommy and daddy together, you know, marriage is a legality. I don't think it even really matters to children. They want to grow up with a mommy and a daddy. It's more for the woman. But when you introduce children to the dynamic, there should have been no children introduced if you guys were not on the same page.
well, there should have been no moving forward if you weren't on the same page. Because again, the men are pretty simple about certain stuff, and that's one of those. She came up front. And she understood my attitude about marriage, and man, look, we'll have probably have, one day we'll have a show getting into all kinds of details on all kinds of stuff. But man, it is what it is. But like after 10 years, it's hard to come to that man saying this is important to you when you've let him be
Get
your
away with it
man
for
for
10
10
years.
years without accomplishing it. Like, that's why, again, it comes back to the no disrespect type of rule, because that's so if you required marriage, you needed to make sure that he understood that was the destination before y'all even started going at it like that. Because, ladies, I hate to say it, but your leverage, your power in the negotiations with him, it ends when you give up the poom poom.
Facts.
And it is non-existent once you've had his kid.
Facts.
So you got to understand that before you even start really dealing with fellas out here like that. Like, you can't give me the poom poom and then say you need to take me out to dinner.
I'm gonna have to pause you because Pepper Seed is good on this one. Thank you, Pepper Seed. If finding a wife is important to a man, he will marry.
I mean, that's he will marry that woman, especially the mother of his kids. Like, again, most guys do look at the mother of their kids a little differently, good or bad, you know what I mean, but a little differently than the rest of the women in their life. Because one, it's children are permanent, you know, kids don't go nowhere, you know, and it's a bond, good, bad, or indifferent, that you have with that other person as long as that child is on that earth, and hell, even after they gone, you know. And it is what it is. But we were lied to for so long, you know what I mean, thinking we were in this new world and you could just do what you want to do, and then there wasn't no repercussions and there wasn't no consequences. And now we're living in that space of now, all these years later, we are starting to see the consequences and the repercussions of some of that stuff. Because as Pepper Seed is saying, you know, kids don't care about none of that stuff. I got a personal saying, like, kids only care about two things when it comes to their parents. They want to be able to say, my daddy make money and my mama is pretty. And if they can say that, they feel like they won in the parents department.
Yes, if a man wants to be married, then he will make that his priority and a topic of conversation. Rob and I were talking about marriage very early on. We needed to understand where both of us had been. Having been in previous marriages, and marriages that were not great marriages. His was a lot longer than mine because I got up after found out about the twins, which was like a year into the marriage. Yeah, my ex-husband possibly fathered 3 children within a year and a half of a marriage. But I digress. But we discussed these things. We discussed whether or not it was a priority for us, how we felt around marriage, where this relationship was going, if marriage was a part of it. He understood that it was important for me. I wasn't going to get into, I said my next relationship is my last relationship, and this is what I want. Marriage is a part of it, this union, all of that. Rob would have never signed up if he didn't want this. And I would have never signed up. He's like, nah, I don't, been there, done that, not really feeling like doing that. But it was also because women, stop thinking that you can change a man's mind about what he wants, thinking that for some reason you have the golden pum pum or whatever it is that you think that it has. A man knows what he wants in a wife. And if you exhibit the characteristics that he's looking for in a wife, that will be it. Rob is in a relationship with me because I exhibited the characteristics he knew he wanted in his next wife. Well, not because of my pretty looks.
I even tell my daughter that. I don't think a lot of women really understand it's unnatural for you to have to ask a man how he feel about you. If a man feels anything about you, he's gonna let you know.
That part.
That's as long as I've known it, you know what I mean? And that's facts. Like, that's why, like, let's use, for instance, that whole Miami debacle that's tearing social media up, because the difference on men and women, how they see it, is so pretty crazy, you know? All right, homies in Miami on a guy's trip or whatever, and they at the beach and they messing around and whatever, and this girl, I guess he gave her his number. Allegedly, because I say allegedly, because so she says. He might have given her the infamous 1-digit off number and had no intentions ever. Because again, this is how men move. If that man really wanted her, again, they're on vacation in Miami. He would have had her in Miami. There would be no reason for her to go out on TikTok asking millions of people, have you seen this dude's face? And do you know who he is? And again, I think he's from Detroit. I hope he ain't married. And that's when I really knew it was just pure cap. It's like, because your instincts is even telling you, this man don't want you like that. You know what I'm saying? He was just flirting. So again, his wife didn't seem too happy about the situation, which again, that makes her kind of an idiot, in my opinion, because you're going to let a thirsty chick who made a post on Instagram trying to track your husband down make you insecure about your relationship with him. So I'm like, I don't know what he done did in the past or whatever. That's their business or whatever. But if she was in Vegas recently, if some guy was on TikTok like, oh, we danced and I think she could be the one, and he's like, why would I put that like she violated?
That's crazy.
That's a crazy nigga on the other side. It's like, that's thirsty, bro. If she wanted you, she would have had you. She would have made sure you could get you. Okay, email, number, Snap, Instagram, any way to get in touch with you, you would have made that known. If for a man that really wants a woman.
So I'm going to speak to the ladies right now. Let me be clear, ladies. You don't have to guess if a man wants you. A man is going to let you know that he wants you. And let's be clear. I've been on many vacations. Miami, Atlanta, New York, Cuba, Dominican, Mexico, all of this. Me and my girls have random pictures of men all the time because men will come up to us and be like, oh my God, you ladies are pretty. Snap. They'll take pictures on their phone. We'll take pictures on ours. It's fun. People go on their way. The men who have wanted me and or my girls are making sure that we're exchanging numbers. They're making sure to invite us out to dinner that night. They're making sure to tell us that they're going to get us a table that night. They're doing everything to ensure that while we're there, we are connecting. A man who wants you isn't going to take a few snaps, maybe kind of give you the number, and then go on his business, so that 5 months later, you're on social media begging people to find that man. So all the ladies who were coming to this crazy woman's defense and ragging on that man, talking about he was acting single, let me be clear. Rob better not be on a man's vacation going to Miami Beach with his ring on, because if he loses it and he's coming home telling me about he was frolicking, I'm going to be big mad. I know many of women who were on vacation. Where's their wedding ring? They put it in the box and they put it in the safe.
And that's like the one about the infamous, like, don't let nobody tell you they too busy for you. Like, that's crazy. Because if you were valued appropriately, that person would never be too busy for you. And that's the most, again, that's the working hardest individuals ever. Because again, if a man feels a certain kind of way about a woman, if he's got an hour lunch break, he's going to try to make an arrangement to see her on his hour lunch break if that's all he's got available. You know what I'm saying? Trust me, I've been there before where, can you meet me here? And I got 45 minutes. At least we can see each other today. You know what I'm saying? And if it's not that, then that's where I'm too busy and I got other things to do and I got things that are more important going on. Tattoo ring work. What's that mean?
Yeah. So when you take your ring off, you still have the initials. Like my initials would be on your finger to signify that you're married. But again, a ring doesn't, listen, I can go buy a ring tomorrow and put it on my finger and say, Robert and I are not legally married. We're in cohabitation. We will get married. You guys will know when the date is. I'm going to put that all over social media. That's the reality. Like, it is what it is. You wearing a wedding ring don't mean nothing. At the end of the day, a man who wants you is going to show you married or not. That man did not want that woman. As women, we need to be able to call out BS. Women should have been saying to that woman, you look crazy in them streets, putting together a montage for a man you met 5 months ago. You don't even know his name, didn't invite you to dinner, didn't do anything, didn't show you anything. And said women came to her defense talking about a man, he was out there acting single. What does it mean to act single? Yeah, if you want to know if a man is in a relationship, ask him. Most men
that's
are
ridiculous, right? And how is that even something that you don't even ask? Like, that's why that whole situation was kind of upsetting a little bit to me, because it was a thirsty woman getting rewarded for airing out a dude for being thirsty. Like,
listen, I agree with you. Was he having fun? Yes, but that's what men do on vacation. That's what I do.
Why shouldn't he be able to have fun?
If I'm in Miami with my girls and we are doing a girls trip, I am having the most fun. That is what we're supposed to do. Like, Rob gave me a scenario the other day, and we're going to say this before we go, because I know we're keeping you people. Do you guys remember, for most of you are in your late 30s, early 40s, 15, that part, long belly gal. 15, 20 years ago, do you remember going on vacation, going out in the city? Say you were with 5 of your guys and she was with 5 of her girls. Y'all saw each other. The vibe was good. Y'all were like, yo, let's hang out together. We're all here on vacation. You guys are going horseback riding together, because again, a vacation is supposed to be fun. You meet new people. Maybe one of the 2 single people would, hook up and make something, but most people, it was just a fun couple of weekends. You were in Mexico, wherever you do, and you went on your way. No harm, no foul. You went back to your other lives. There was no real big social media to put it out there. You did your thing. You might have connected on, Black Planet or MySpace or whatever, but you went to your separate lives. Why can't people do that anymore? Why can't people understand that? What is Rob supposed to do when he's on vacation? A woman talks to them. Show them, Rob. What are you supposed to do?
No, I'm like, just the whole energy of this shit was thirsty to me. Again, like, what? Yo, if you talking to a chick and her friend pulls out a camera and starts recording, my red flags are going off. I'm kind of like, is that because this is that unusual that it needs to get evidence of it? Do we need evidence of it? Like, that's the energy it kind of felt to me. Like, it was like, how are you still thinking about this shit 5 months later?
5 months ago. Again, let me be clear for people to understand. She did not know his name. She did not know what he did. She barely knew where he was from. He hadn't invited her out later that night, hadn't given her any indication he wanted to fuck, because again, that's what cheating is. He was a married man. If he wanted to cheat, he would have said, I want to fuck. Didn't give her his hotel name, didn't give her the hotel number, and she was, according to herself, lit on the beach. So this man didn't do any of the things that a man who is hell-bent on having an affair on a boys' weekend did. And this has turned women into saying that this man is a cheater and a gaslighter and a narcissist and all of that thing. Are black women that upset at black men that situation has literally divided men and women? I'm usually on the side of the men because I call bullshit. Critical thinking, people. Please start teaching critical thinking in your home. Again, a man who wants you is going to display characteristics to show you he wants you. He is going to ask you for your number. I have had guys who did not have their phone, who literally gave me their number and said, call me right away and leave a message or leave me a text message. I do not want to fed.
Or will take your phone and call a cell. He's on it like that. He's going to make sure. Don't worry about it. We're only going to be on a few more minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, a dude is going to make sure if he's on it like that, even if it is just a smash. You know what I'm saying? Because that's how are you gonna do that if he ain't got your phone number? You got his. He waiting around for you to call him.
Listen,
like, he ain't thinking about you.
Sounds like when I go to a sofa fit and take a bubble and that's it. Soft things. Thank you. Soft things. But these women have blown this thing out of proportion and made it a crazy story. Anyways. That is what we have to say for our night. Our battery's actually dying. I thought Rob had plugged it in.
No.
This has been a great conversation. Let me read some of the last comments.
Recap.
Let me read some of the last. Babe, I'm going to need you to scroll because I keep going. We're all busy. Cass says we're all busy. Oh my God. Please. Sorry, Rob and this thing.
You trying to go way back.
Rob seems to be happy and at peace, so he don't mind doing for you. Restaurant says if you were busted and bad built, Sheba, he wouldn't be here. Laugh out loud. A lot of women feel they can change a man, which is not the case. Social media is a mess. Pepper Seed says the marriage might not be great. I agreed. Talk about a backup ring. And Cass said this is right. We're all busy. He's got something else going on. I absolutely agree with you. And there we go. To some, marriage is supposed to be a prison. And that's the thing. Marriage is not a prison. No. You can still have fun in your marriage. Your marriage is supposed to be fun. It is the last real relationship you should be in. When you get into it, you should be thinking about your last relationship. So this idea that there's all these rules and perimeters and you're supposed to be deaf, dumb, and blind because you married someone, that's ridiculous. I am not stupid. I'm with a man who is 6'9", who's a former basketball player, who our nickname for him, us in Sorrel & Sage, she's our sponsor, she's also our creative director, is Beyonce. That is our nickname for Rob, Beyonce. So do I think that he goes out into the world and women are like, oh, that's not a good looking man? Of course they do. They're supposed to, but it's how he operates in the world that matters. Anyways, I want to thank everybody who joins us. This was our longest show yet. Thank you for all who have been a part of it, who stayed with us. If you want to be on the show, please make sure you reach out to us or really me in the DMs and let us know what you want to talk about and be on the show. A big shout out to our sponsor, Sorrel & Sage, who makes self-care for the sensitive soul. Make sure to follow them on Instagram at Sorrel & Sage CA, and their website is shopsorrelandsage.com. They make the most amazing products, and the owner makes and tests all of the products on herself, and the ingredients are amazing. None of this other stuff that them other products have, okay? So Sorrel & Sage, there's all the information. I use it on Rob's skin. I use it in his beard. I use it all over. I use it all over.
Big shout out to the special guest from earlier today. What's his whole Insta?
Dean Madoff.
Dean Madoff. Again, we're gonna link up later, bro. Excellent job representing, and I don't know, just kind of wrapping it up. You'll see it on YouTube later if you want to catch a recap. But thanks for joining in, sticking around. See you guys next Thursday. One love, one love.